Aloha and good morning. Thanks for tuning in here to the Honolulu Star Advertiser Facebook page for the COVID care conversation. We have Director Murakami who is standing by. He just logged in, so we're going to be pulling him up in just a few moments. But want to welcome all of you to the conversation. I'm Ryan Kalei-Suji.
And I'm Yanji Denise. Thank you so much for being here this morning. This is the COVID-19 Care Conversation brought to you by the Hawaii Executive Collaborative. They are a group of civic and business leaders here in the islands working to make this a better place. We so appreciate their partnership because it allows us to bring you people like Scott Murakami to answer questions directly. And we know that so many folks are experiencing financial hardship right now. Nearly 250,000 claims filed to the unemployment office in Hawaii, which is a staggering number. So we're going to dive deep into those numbers, find out how many claims have actually been processed, and get to the meat of that discussion. But first, Ryan, yesterday when I saw how many new cases there were, honestly, I thought it was a typo because I was so surprised.
Yeah, a big milestone. Only one new reported COVID case here in the state of Hawaii. So definitely the curve is flattening, or if not, is flat. And great news. Unfortunately, 2 more deaths reported. But the cases as well as recovery continues to go down, which is a great sign for everybody in the state for heeding the warnings and the orders that have been put in place to establish this sort of initiative to kind of keep this curve down.
Yeah, wonderful to see that. Very tragic news about the deaths. But to see just a single case and the day before only 2 cases, we are definitely getting to a good place when it comes to new infections. I see the questions coming in, so let's bring in Director Murakami.
Well, we actually just lost him.
Okay.
Hang with us for 1 second. I think he's logging back in. And once we get him back up, we will be able to connect with him. We know that there's a lot of questions. I think we have him, and unfortunately we couldn't do a test because the director is a very popular person these days, and I think he's on now. Can you hear us and see us, Director? Hi, Director Murakami, can you hear us?
And that's the challenge of the medium, of course. And while he checks his audio and video, I just want to talk a little bit about the headlines of the day. Less than a third of Hawaii's unemployment claims have been paid since March 1st. That's the headline in today's Honolulu Star Advertiser. There's a really good breakdown of some of those numbers. And of course, we want to ask Director Murakami about those numbers. Why are we seeing just a third of those claims processed? Although when you think about the sheer volume, even getting through a third of those is probably a pretty significant milestone. And I think that he's having a little bit of trouble with his connection, but I see some movement on that side. So Ryan, what can you tell me?
Again, this is sort of the challenge of running. He's going to, I think, restart his computer. And as we said, Director Murakami, a very popular person these days. He actually was in a briefing before this and actually has to head off to a Senate briefing right after this as well. So we are lucky that we have the time with him. We were unable to do a test, so we normally try to do that before all of these guests come on. So we will try to get him on as soon as we can, and hopefully things will work out as he continues to sort of refresh his side. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with our
Okay, perfect.
wireless,
we got you. So let's dive into the numbers here. Good morning. Thank
Sure.
you so much for being with us. You know, that headline in the paper, definitely a lot of folks feeling that frustration. Less than a third of unemployment claims have actually been paid since March 1st. What can you tell us about how fast this process is moving along?
So like I shared with you, it really depends on the individual claims that come through. So if you have a clean claim, it'll process in 15 days. But you know, if we go over the numbers really quickly, you have to remember that first off, there are a lot of duplications in the count. So if we take out the duplications, we take out the errors in filing, and we take out people who are denied, because people who are denied actually have been processed, but they just told they don't qualify. Because you have to remember, the unemployment insurance is an insurance program that you have to qualify for. You have to be a covered employee. The amount of claims that we are looking at in processing is 181,000. So of the 181,000, 65,252 were processed as of the 26th of April, and that's about 36%. So it really depends on how you create or what basis you use to look at those claims. But the bottom line is that we paid 65,252 claims as of the 26th.
One of the biggest questions that we're getting is about the 1099 and the independent contractor workers. I know the last time we spoke that you said that their new system would have to be put in place. Is there any update on when that system will be up and running, and when those independent contractors can expect to begin that process of filing?
Sure. So you're right. The Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Program is very different. It's not an insurance program. That program really looks like more of a what would you call it, like a private benefits program or public benefits program. So we do need to set up an entirely new system. What we are looking at is rolling out the first phase of the program this week. So what that entails is just the application process. So people would be able to apply for it. So that's the first thing. The second phase would follow in about 15 days. And the second phase involves a number of things. One is determining the eligibility of a recipient or a participant or application. Second would be what the amount they're entitled to. And then third would be the payment to them. So those three phases would be, or those three items would be in the second phase, which we are targeting 15 days after the rollout of phase one. Then the third phase involves appeals and any kind of contested case. So if somebody doesn't agree with the judgment that we've rendered, they do have a right to appeal. That appeals process goes to our Employment Securities Appeals and Referees Office, or ISARO, for final adjudication. And so the way I think it's going to roll out is we'd like to roll out phase one this week. 15 days later,
Looks like he's frozen there. Hopefully things will refresh. We ask for your patience again, everybody that is tuning in. Hopefully his connection will speed up here.
Hopefully his connection does catch up. We know that where he is, that they are doing a lot of work right now. And so all of those internet lines are probably jammed. We see a lot of questions here about the call center. So we will be asking him about that next. We know a lot of you have been very frustrated with trying to call the 800 number. They did set up a secondary site at the convention center to try to alleviate some of the backlog there. And try to open up also on weekends so that people can call then. There have been some pushes to try to get this staffed 24/7, but they just don't have the numbers of people right now. There is a mechanism for state workers to volunteer, so to speak. Those are folks who have been asked to stay home but are still getting paid. So if you're a state worker and would like to volunteer for that, you can check in with your supervisor on how to do that. At this point, they're only asking state employees to do that, as opposed to regular folks, private sector employees, and that's really because of the confidential nature of the information that's being processed. But we are seeing a lot of people stand up to try to clear this backlog, because bottom line, we want people to have the money and to get paid.
That's right. And I think there's still a lot of questions as well about the federal support that's coming in, the $600. A lot of people asking when exactly can they be getting paid for that. We know that some people did get those payouts, but there was some question if you did not qualify for on the state end, if you would qualify for the federal side. And I think that's what a lot of the questions were, especially for those independent contractors, those people who are sole proprietors that wouldn't not necessarily qualify under the state's recommendations, but would qualify for that federal side. So him, right before he got cut off, he was sort of talking about sort of the efforts that are being made, because they had to sort of redevelop an entirely new system to really help to process exactly those claims. We have him hopefully once again, and I think it looks like they might have removed computers.
Is that better?
That is better.
Oh, that's better. Okay, sorry. Well,
but if you could center yourself physically in
there you go.
Perfect.
Okay, sorry about that. I apologize for that technical difficulties.
Well, we a lot of us are doing these Zoom calls from home, and so we sympathize with that. All right. Well, let's get back to the question. Oh.
Nope.
All right. We apologize, folks, because we know that this is a challenge for you to have him coming in and out, and we're just working with what we got here. We know that he's rushing off to another hearing at 11 o'clock, so we only have a few minutes. So as soon as he does come back, we will have him answer the questions that we're seeing coming in about the call centers and also about the appeal process.
That's right. And one of the things that I think that it's important to note is that there were a lot of claims that were actually processed this past week. However, you heard only maybe about 30% of the ones that came in. So still not necessarily the dent that they would really like to make. And hopefully this works this time. We will.
All right.
It's a busy day online. So
don't touch anything.
All right. So if we can, I know that, sorry, just to kind of go back, the 1099, the sole proprietors, just really quickly, when do you think that will come back on?
So the application process we're looking for this week. Then 15 days later will be the actual monetary payment process. And then after that, we're looking at 7 days for the appeals process or the appeals phase to come online.
And will that be through the regular unemployment website, or are you standing up a whole new website?
We're standing up a different landing page, but you'll still be able to access it through the labor.hawaii.gov site, which is our homepage.
Okay, great. The other question, a lot of people keep writing in about the call center and the frustrations they have with that. I know that before you were saying that it's basically, I think it was 115 in the queue, and then you get kicked off. What's the call volume like, and have you been able to respond to more people?
So I can tell you the new phone system that we have provides us with certain better analytics, and we received, I believe, on Saturday about 100,000 calls. It only has the trunk is still limited. The trunk's limited to the existing infrastructure. So that's still at 115 calls, but we do have the ability to message a little bit better. Once you get in the queue, it does have better call waiting features. And because we have now the capacity within the convention center, we are looking to ramp up manpower there as well.
Got it. Okay. Some of the other questions that we have that have been coming in deal directly with the $600 that are coming from the federal government. What happens if you're denied a state claim? Is this person still eligible to get the $600 from the federal government?
Yes, what would happen is you would file then through the PUA program. So if let's say, for example, you apply for UI, you're a worker, but you didn't meet the work hours, then you would apply through the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Program. And that program would then provide you both with the appropriate benefit that you're entitled to, as well as the $600 plus up.
Okay, and I know you said within the next 2 weeks. Do you have a date for when that website will be up and people can actually start applying?
Unfortunately not. We're still doing testing at this point. So, and then once it gets up, I'd be a little more comfortable giving you a date. I don't want to give you something that then would have to backpedal on. So, yeah.
In terms of those federal benefits, how much money are we talking about, and for how long would people be eligible for benefits?
So my understanding is that the benefits will start on the benefit period that is appropriate to Hawaii starts on March 1st. And that benefit period has to be determined by when COVID-19 actually impacted your state. So for us, it was the 1st of March. I believe it goes for, I'm getting it all mixed up. I don't want to get into it. I think
goes to end of July.
Was it July 31st, I think?
Yes.
The 600 plus up goes to July 31st. Yep.
Okay.
Got it. Okay.
And how long after, because as folks are waiting for the state to get their website up, can they can backdate those benefits? In other words, if you lost your job on March 15th, but you weren't able to apply for benefits until May 15th, can you recoup those interim benefits?
Yes, you certainly can. We'll make you whole for the entire amount of separation. We are looking to pay the maximum benefit to that an applicant is entitled to, both under the PUA program as well as under our unemployment insurance program. But that's where it takes quite a lot of work to make sure that we've got the right calculation done. Part of the challenge with these programs that they really are, they require some manual processing, and those are the things that I think take a little bit more time than we'd like it to.
One of the other problems that we're seeing that coming in is someone, let's say they have a clean claim that comes in, but they're having problems on the certification side when they have to provide documentation where they can't, the screen isn't working, the applications aren't being loaded. What would you recommend in those situations if they can't get through the call center either?
That's a great question, Ryan, because the certification that you're referring to is actually their timesheet, right? So that's their way of letting us know that they're still unemployed, they still are entitled to benefits, and they have not returned to work, or they have not been offered work by their employer. So we have to have that timesheet certification process in place. So what we're doing now is we are actually replicating the database that we have on the mainframe and putting it in a separate SQL server to then verify the claims certifications. And then what we'll do from there is ingest that data into the mainframe in a more timely way. And as a result, we cut down on the traffic of it. We can run the system 24/7. And that module or that system, that replicated database, is planned to come out either Thursday or Friday of this week.
So people should just continue to hold on and keep documenting those things.
You should keep trying. Yes, you most certainly should keep trying. But if, what I can tell you is that the process is not going to change. We're not going to change the process at all. So you'll go through the same portal to file your certification. But what will happen is the certification will route to a separate server. It'll do the verification, store it, and then bam, it'll upload it at an appropriate time when there's less traffic on the internet, to the mainframe, that allows us to process everyone's certifications in a more timely way and allows for 24/7 filing of certifications.
I see a lot of people wondering why the call center is not up and running 24/7. Do you anticipate extending the hours as more volunteers come on?
That's a tough one, right? Because as much as I'd like to run it 24/7, the problem is that what we're doing is we're calling people back, and I know it has been slow, but in calling people back, we actually have to have access to the administrative rights or administrative access directly into our mainframe, into the mainframe system that we run. So when the mainframe is not available, unfortunately, we don't have the information to help a claimant. So that's one of the systems that I have not been able to find a web service or an automated way or a modern web service that would alleviate that. We are looking at that, but that's really the limitation of why I can't run the phone up to that point. Now, there may be some filing issues where we can help somebody file a new claim that we'd be able to extend hours to, but the harder issues that we're looking at resolving, unfortunately, are limited still by the accessibility to the mainframe.
Do you have a dedicated team that's working on sort of the emails? We are getting some comments coming in that people are saying that they're using the backdate emails, they're using the claims emails, but they haven't had any response. Is there a dedicated team that's trying to address those questions?
We do. We've actually asked our neighbor island offices to help us with that. So each county is actually taking care of one of a specific issue. The one that I can tell you we're seeing the most in is disqualified claimants. Though that one we're getting a lot of emails to, but we're also getting multiple, emails where clearly people are just trying to get their answer responded to, and we are trying to get through those as quickly as possible. But that's our plan of attack. It's just that there's so many that it's difficult to get through them all.
Taking a step back, I know the paper statistic and yours was around 36%, I believe you said, of the eligible claims that had been paid at this point, or people actually starting to get money. Do you see a day when you will actually be able to catch up?
Oh, yes, absolutely. So I guess the way to explain it is, unfortunately, I have a short flow chart that would be nice to show, but there are three levels that you have to look at this, right? When somebody files an application, if there's an error, we know there are about anywhere from about 12,000 claims or filings or applications that we need to call back on. So the strategy that we have for the calls, I think it's about 11 days that would require us to run that down. But if we could get, once we're at full capacity with the call center and focusing primarily on callbacks. The second level then is people who have actually filed their claims and the claim has a simple error on it. So for example, we have to match up the employer with their claim, right? Those we're taking care of quite quickly with the convention center. We're seeing on average about 9 to 10,000 errors or issues being resolved on average, because some days we have more, some days we have less. So on average, it's about 10 or 11,000, I would say, that we're clearing out. But that then takes us to the third bucket, or the third level of errors that we have to correct. And that's the one that I'm worried about. And the reason is the third level of errors require us to actually do the application of statutes, as well as do some adjudication and decision making, right? So we actually render a decision at that point that can then be appealed. So that one is where I'm worried, because that's where we have a lot of high-end issues. So an example of an issue like that could be where somebody left and they think that they left under terms of, hey, COVID-19 was here, I left my job. Where the employer says, no, that's not the case. The person never showed up to work. And so in my view, as an employer, that person quit. If they quit, that's a voluntary separation of duty. The individual is no longer qualified. But from the claimant's perspective, they may think, hey, wait a minute, I would have shown up if it weren't for COVID-19. That's the level of sophistication that and decision making that has to happen at that third level. That's the one that I'm looking at now, and how we're going to run those down more timely. But to answer your question short, yeah, I do think that we'll run it down. We're doing, from our side, we're doing everything we can to implement solutions that really drive through this problem.
And I know you have to head off to a Senate briefing right now. So we just final comments from you. Again, a lot of comments, questions. People, I think the general consensus is people just can't get through website or phone. I guess maybe your final comment about those people who are finding themselves not being able to get contact or get any information at this point.
Right. So, the one thing I can assure you is that we are trying to work the solution as best as we can. It's and I hate to say this, but it is an unprecedented time. We are trying to do everything we can to help the community. We clearly, the money's flowing out. I think we paid like $116 million to claimants just in April. But it's not enough. I realize that, and we're trying to do everything that we can to mitigate the situation and rectify it as quickly as possible. So that's the one thing that I will commit to, that we will continue to have that level of fortitude and resilience in moving forward. So thank you very much again for your patience, and sorry about the technical challenges we ran into this morning.
No problem. We hope to get things resolved for next week, but thank you again for taking time, and we'll talk to you next week. Thank you, Director.
You're welcome. Take care. Aloha.
Thank you. Aloha. Well, very interesting to hear him. And for those of you who joined late, we apologize for some of those technical issues, but we do encourage you, when this live stream is over, to go back and watch some of the beginning of what he talked about. Important news for those of you who are filing for those federal benefits. You may have been denied state benefits, but you could still be entitled to some assistance from the federal government. That's $600 a week, which for Hawaii runs from March 1st till the end of July. That's the claims period for that. And don't worry if you haven't filed for that, because you haven't been able to. The website's not up yet. He does say that it should be up and running in the next 2 weeks, and that money will be critical for people who haven't received any because they may be self-employed, independent contractors, though 1099 folks. So, sit tight. He wouldn't give us a date just yet, but we do have a commitment from him for next week, I believe, Ryan.
That's right. And I think one of the general blanket statements is, if you can't get through, make sure you're documenting everything, because he's saying that they're going to make sure that, as he put it, you're made whole. So making sure that if it is a screenshot that shows that I've made this claim, it's timestamped, that you can verify that you've gone through the process. I think those are going to be the most important things, is that you have a really strong track record of all the things that you have done up until this point. But because of the state's limitations with the system, that you haven't been able to get paid. Another thing that we also want to point out, a lot of the questions that are coming in that we're seeing, and again, we're seeing a lot of them, a lot of you are frustrated. We get it, we understand. We weren't able, of course, to get to everybody's questions, but a lot of the things that many people are asking, he actually discussed last week and the week before in our other conversation with him. So we encourage you to head on to our page where you can see the previous videos with the director. We also have some broken down videos on our website at coronavirus.hawaii.gov, where we actually broke down each of the individual questions. So they're more, you don't have to scrub through the entire show. You can actually look for those questions on there as well, because a lot of them will answer some of the questions that are still coming through.
Yeah, and of course, he does understand you're frustrated. I know a lot of you were asking about the 24/7. That was very interesting. Basically, they don't have the technical capacity to do that. So it's not a matter of will, it's just a matter of ability. Getting to some other headlines today, we talked about PPP yesterday with Gwen Yamamoto-Lau of DBED. SBA applications stalled because of crashes yesterday. Minutes after the $310 billion program went online on Monday, the online portal crash. That just shows the tremendous need, not just here in Hawaii, but really around the country. It kept crashing all day. So banks really trying to get that money for those clients who are desperate to get some of that PPP funding. And the other headline is that Hawaii is expected to see $7 billion in federal aid. One of the people who is fighting for that for Hawaii is Ed Case, and he's going to be on tomorrow.
Yeah, so a great opportunity, I think, for small businesses to come on tomorrow to speak and ask your questions to Representative Case, because we know that Hawaii needs this money just as much as this unemployment support. There's also a lot of small businesses here that need help as well. So it's going to be great to get an update to him and from him, and also see if we could see yet another stimulus package and another maybe CARES bill that will be passed that will help to provide more support for these small businesses, because obviously, with the demand that's coming out there, more people are going to need support. So we look forward to speaking with him again tomorrow. If you have questions directly for him, please make sure you can always enter them here, and we can ask them tomorrow as well.
One of the things we always like to do, of course, is to point out a Hawaii hero of the day, kind of elevate the conversation and talk about the things that are good in our community. We want to highlight Catholic Charities Hawaii. The Kauai office has been providing one-time emergency financial assistance to Kauai residents who have suffered severe financial hardship. That program will provide assistance to qualified applicants with rent, mortgage payments, utilities, or buying supplies. That is made possible by a generous donation from the Hawaii Community Foundation's Resilience Fund. And you can learn more if you need help. CatholicCharitiesHawaii.org will have more information on how you can apply for some of that assistance.
Yeah, great to see, again, Catholic Charities helping out in the community in times of need. It's sort of what they're built on, and we'd like to highlight them as our Hawaii hero. Another, again, good resource is Aloha United Way, the 211 number. They are also providing support as well, not only to help get you connected with the resources that you need, but they also have programs that you can apply for as well, and help connect you with some other programs and grants and money that could be available for people. So another important number is 211, Aloha United Way, also helping people out. We have a list of numbers in our show notes for you to get connected, some of the other things that are happening and some of the other questions that maybe some of you have.
Yeah, and if you happen to be in a position to help, tomorrow from 7 to 9 in the morning, Bank of Hawaii and Institute for Human Services are co-hosting a one-day donation drive. That's at Kahala Mall. They're asking folks to donate cleaning supplies. There's a whole list of things that they need. These are called Bags of Hope, again, brought to you by IHS and Bank of Hawaii. This is going to some of the most vulnerable residents in our community to try to help keep, help them keep their homes or, wherever they may be, clean. So we mahalo them for organizing this drive. Again, that's 7 to 9 in the morning at Kahala Mall tomorrow. They're asking you to drop off those donations if you are able.
That's right. And again, we are seeing some great things that are happening in the community. And so we want to highlight them. If you know of an organization or a company that's doing something or needs help, please let us know, because we'd be happy to get the word out. We are, as you know, we're hearing this phrase everywhere throughout the world. We're in it together. And really, it's true. We need to support each other during these times. So if you need help, or if you are an organization that has something coming up, please let us know. We'd love to highlight you. Another thing that you can do is you can write letters to our kupuna. We have received thousands of these letters that we'll be sending out to different care homes. These are just notes to encourage them. Many of them have been, of course, like everyone else, stuck indoors, and they'll likely, the only thing is a lot of them aren't able to have that interaction, aren't able to have the technology that we have access to, maybe to do FaceTime and things like that. So these letters are very important to kind of help keep their spirits up. You can get more information by heading over to coronavirushawaii.com and writing a letter and helping to sort of encourage our kupuna in our community.
Yeah, it's wonderful. It just feels always so good to get a handwritten letter, and these folks need it now more than ever. So please head over there. Again, still seeing some questions about unemployment, coronavirushawaii.com. Ryan did a great job of actually breaking down Scott Murakami's questions into little bite-sized videos, so you can just get your specific question answered, because some of these are repeats. We'll have him again next week. And remember that he did say that public assistance from the federal public assistance, they're hoping to stand up that website in the next 2 weeks. He did not give us a date. We will press him on that again, but he, of course, doesn't want to make a promise that he can't keep. And so that's why we don't have a date for that just yet. But we know they are working very hard on that so that Hawaii folks can get the benefits that they're entitled to.
That's right. And one other headline that we want to note, because we talked to the governor yesterday about this, and that is floral shops being open on Mother's Day. We talked to the governor yesterday. He said that he was going to talk to the mayors after our conversation, I should say, with him. And he had that conversation, and the announcement was made that floral shops will be able to operate, and especially for Mother's Day. There's actually a question that's listed on the Star Advertiser page. The big question of the day is, what do you think about florists being allowed to reopen for Mother's Day via social distancing? If you agree that they deserve to do that. I know that a lot of people are looking forward to being able to, show their little love to their mothers on this Mother's Day and help support the industry. But we were able to get that clarification from the governor yesterday afternoon, saying that it will be open.
Yeah, and a lot of these florists are really hurting. If you think about the ripple effect of something like Hawaii graduations being canceled, that is, I mean, this time of year, it's weddings, it's graduations, and it's Mother's Day. This is really their bread and butter. And so we know that money is tight. Obviously, we were just talking to the director of unemployment, but the more we can do to help support local businesses like your favorite lei shop, buying a lei for mom, getting flower deliveries, all of that really helps these small businesses that, so many of us cherish, and we want to see them when this is all over. We want to still see them in business. So good to see them making a compromise there that they can safely deliver flowers and make sure that, mom gets a little love as well.
Yeah, we'll make sure you get a little love, Yanji, mothers on Mother's Day. Again, we have a lot to look forward to. It's only Tuesday, but again, tomorrow, Ed Case is coming on. And then on Thursday, Superintendent Kishimoto will be back here with us. We're going to be getting an update from her. So make sure you spread the word about that show that's happening on Thursday. We'd love to hear from some of the teachers out there, maybe some of the direct questions that you have for the superintendent. This is your opportunity to ask her those questions. I know that there's still a lot of question marks about how the DOE is going to be able to reopen schools with social distancing, as well as just even leading into summer school. We know that there's still a lot of questions about schooling. So make sure you tune in on Thursday, because I think there's a lot of information that we still are hoping to get from the Department of Education.
Absolutely. Until tomorrow, we wish you a fond aloha. Please be safe. If you do have to go out, wear a mask. Remember, social distance as much as possible. And we are, as Ryan said, in this together. We will see you again right back here tomorrow at 10:30 on the Facebook page of the Honolulu Star Advertiser.
Aloha. We'll see you tomorrow.